Biden has made clear to the world that the border is open has led to a record number of people coming here, and just the sheer number of what we're dealing with is so extraordinary. Candidly, none of this is going to be solved until we have the president with the commitment to secure the border, like what Trump did.
And in the wake of last week's tragedy in which 53 migrants perished in the back of a sweltering tractor trailer, a truck that had reportedly been waved through an inland checkpoint, Abbott is taking matters into his own hands. He's ordering state troopers to conduct more aggressive searches of commercial vehicles that could potentially be used for human smuggling. Jillian.
Claudia Cowan, live for us this afternoon. Thanks so much. For more on this and all the fallout from the very dramatic end to the Supreme Court's term, let's bring in our political panel. We got Matthew Bassett, he's former Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services, and David Carlucci, a former New York State Senator. Gentlemen, happy 4th to you both. Thanks for joining me. Matt, I'll come to you first. Remain in Mexico, we all know, was a Trump administration policy. It was handed down through executive action. You rightly point out anything handed down that way, anything done via executive action can fairly easily be undone.
That's true, and presidents enjoy wide discretion on border policy. This decision wasn't so much of a surprise in that they had the right to undo it. It was the dissenting opinion that was authored by Alito, joined by Neil Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas, and that what they are doing on the border with mass releases under parole is in and of itself unconstitutional. You have a variety of choices to do when people present themselves at the border, but the idea that you're going to release millions of people into the interior of the United States, knowing that less than 1 out of 10 have a legal asylum claim, is clearly against the United States Constitution.
Quick follow-up, Matt. Sorry to interject. I just want to make sure our viewers understand the nuance here. The reason that so few or such a small percentage of those who make it into the U.S. are going to end up being legally allowed to stay here is why? Break it down.
Because they don't have a credible claim. They all come here and are taught to say that we are fleeing violence, but that is not the case for millions of people. The 1 in 10 that have a legitimate claim were remaining in Mexico, and then we were admitting them once they showed to have a valid claim. But immigration judges are only allowing about 1 in 10 with a credible claim to remain. So you're releasing 1 million people knowing that 900,000 should be deported, and there is no effort at all by this administration to find these people and to deport them when that happens.
All right, David, take a listen to Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. I want to get your reaction.
The migration that is occurring throughout the hemisphere is reflective of the economic downturn, increase in violence throughout the region, the result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the results of climate change.
David, why is he still pinning the blame on the border crisis, increasing numbers of folks crossing illegally even now on the pandemic?
The reality is that people are desperate. Migrants are desperate to get into the United States because they're fleeing horrible situations in their homelands. And that's why it was absolutely essential to repeal the Remain in Mexico policy, because we have about 300 migrants that have been killed so far in the past 6 months of this year because they're taking more and more desperate actions. The reality is it's the humane thing to do, it's the right thing to do to allow people to apply for asylum status and be a safe refuge here in the United States.
But is it still the safe and humane thing to do if the odds are they're going to get sent back in a matter of months anyway? Meaning if there was follow-through on the law that's currently on the books, a lot of these people are not going to be here for very long. It just creates a whole lot of chaos in their lives.
We have to do the right thing, and people are fleeing. Look at the 53 people that were found dead in the back of a tractor trailer in San Antonio. They're taking desperate measures, putting their lives in risk, taking more desperate channels to get into the United States because there is not this legal process. We have to allow that due process to unfold, to allow people that have fled out of fear of their lives and their families' lives to have that process and that tradition that we've had here for decades, if not hundreds of years here in the United States, to allow people to flee a terroristic situation, a ridiculous situation that they're trying to get away from, and allow their case to be heard in the United States. To just say no, to not allow them that due process, is wrong, inhumane, and it treats migrants as some form of subhuman, and we can't allow that.
Matt, you get the last word.
The reality is that 647 migrants lost their lives in the last fiscal year. That is the highest number since the UN started tracking it. This is because of an open border, not in spite of it. We are the only country in the history of the world that has used our own laws to eviscerate our own borders. The societal toll will be huge. It is not humane. It is not right. And in 127 days, the American voters are going to get to tell the president what they think of his policies.
David, take a look at this new Fox News poll. It breaks down pride in America. I have to point out that this comes on the eve of July 4th, a patriotic holiday, when normally Americans are kind of beating the drums for national pride. So right now, 39% of people say they are proud of the country today. 56% say they are not. That's obviously up. You can see there from 28% in June 2011. You got to point out the obvious, which is that this is President Biden's America.
Well, I think we're looking at the ramifications of the Trump-packed Supreme Court and the legislating that we see being done from the bench. And I think Americans are leery of that. We've seen the environment, we've seen choice, we've seen guns,
but just
all
hold
thrown
on a
on its
second,
head.
David. I just got to point out here that that's a stretch. Folks were not asked if they're feeling down on America, how they're feeling about the Supreme Court decision. This is about how they're feeling about the state of their country.
That's exactly right. And what we've seen, because of gridlock in Congress, the Supreme Court has really stepped up and started to legislate from the bench, and that's caused major concern. People are at wits' ends on all sides of the aisle because they're trying to figure out what to do. And in that absence of legislation from the Congress, whether that's right or wrong, we've seen the Supreme Court step up. I think in the coming weeks, we'll see states, the state legislatures from around the country, take on issues that we haven't seen before. Because of the fallout from the Supreme Court, we're going to see massive action on whether it's the Republicans, the Democrats, trying to get into grasp the ramifications of these Supreme Court's decisions, whether it's the environment, guns, a woman's right to choose. All of these issues will be legislated now on the state level, and we'll even see citizen advanced referendums because of these issues. So I think there's going to be a lot of action that hasn't been done in Congress, but will be done at the state level.
All right, Matt, now you get the final word for real.
It's taken 500 days for this president to become the most unpopular in human history. Americans aren't tired of our country. They're tired of seeing the third worldization of the greatest country on earth, and it is a direct result of this president's policies.
Gentlemen, we got to leave it there. Happy holiday weekend to you both. Hope you can put politics aside for the rest of today and tomorrow and enjoy some time celebrating America. Best to you both.
Thanks, Jillian. Happy
Thank you.
4th.
Happy 4th weekend.
You got it.